2010 state meet was a team experience, like full like elation, but we didn't actually win a race.
We got 4th place at state that year, and that kind of left a little bit of a bitter taste because we went down there not knowing what to expect, because a lot of people counted us out after our Peoria Notre Dame race where we bombed and got 8th place.
Basically decided when we went to state that we weren't going to go down there for anything but to win, and so we just ran our entire team right to the front of the race in this kind of suicidal blaze of glory, and we tried to hang on and win, you know, and for about the first 10 minutes of the race it was totally working. I mean, even though we'd had a lot of success, we'd never really been winning the state meet, and to be like in the lead and knowing that we were in the lead for, you know, 9 to 10 minutes of the race was like completely exciting. Yeah, well, there's 2 individual performances that stick out from that race. I mean, one was our top guy, Anthony Gregorio, like he got all state, and that was, you know, he's been a guy real close to my heart, just a tireless hard worker, and you know, he ended up all state in that race. And then, you know, the other one that sticks out, of course, is like our 7th guy, Tim Meinke. Like, he'd barely even like gotten on the varsity, and he just basically pulled the most irrational move of my coaching career. I mean, he just ran right to the front of the state final.
After the mile, I was actually like, holy crap, I should not be up this far, but I was like, I haven't been next to these guys all season. I think I could stay with them because I felt that good the first mile, but I was a little mistaken, but as long as it helped the team out, that's what it's all about.
And that just kind of sparked everybody else to kind of desperate action, you know. So I mean, and he ended up fading, and you know, it was kind of more romantic than like effective, but certainly something that I'll always remember.
Like we definitely knew we had done something big. We weren't sure what. Like everyone thought we won.
Felt like we won. We went all out, and I thought we won.
Our 2 mottos that day were, you know, run your best when it matters the most, and so they definitely done that. And so that was like, it felt like a win because we'd run our best in the state final. But you know, the second one was that we were going to run as hard as we could for as long as we could. There's a lot of disappointment that preceded, you know, we'd set these huge goals, but we had all these like minor disappointments that happened along the way that I think got everybody really ready to train hard in the summer. We'd been second to York in Illinois 5 times, 5 times within the state champions, and we'd gotten second. And so we just decided that if we were going to beat them for once, we'd probably have to train as hard as they did, or at least approximate like what they do.
For this one, it was one of the first weeks of Early Bird, really early June, and we were just starting our training. I just remember being out at Hamilton. He told us, we're talented, but we're not that talented. We're going to see how many guys we can get to do 1,000 miles this summer. And a couple years ago, that was kind of unheard of in our program, but we took it as a challenge.
Going into my senior year, I definitely knew like this is what I wanted to do. These are the guys I'm doing it for, and yeah, I knew I just had nothing to lose.
Colorado was a little bit different this year than last year. The first year we went when we were all in really good shape at the end of summer, and this year we had to go earlier on because our coach was having a baby and stuff, and they had to be around, and other coaches getting married. So it was a lot of fun. I remember doing Magnolia Road.
Did a 14-mile run up on Magnolia Road, which is over 8,000 feet. The year before we'd only been able to do 10, so that was a huge high point.
I remember just watching the pack up there, just like hammering, and then me and Andy Clearman were stuck. He was actually hanging back with me because I was getting sick, and I didn't know if I was going to make it back, but he hung back with me, and then we got a small pack together and just hung through it. It was definitely one of the hardest runs I've ever been on, but it's definitely worth it.
because I just did probably like the hardest run in my whole life. And I'm actually in the middle of it. I'm probably going to do 7 more. So.
It's just about being together as a team and just bonding and like knowing that none of us will quit on each other, or even when the real moment comes at state later in the year.
It finished half mile all uphill, and that was the hardest part, like 14th mile. So it was a lot of fun, but it was painful. And then
It was hot, it's hilly, it's in Colorado, so you have this like mentality that's like, oh, they're better, their training is better, but it is.
Why is this man smiling?
That was fun. That's my favorite run.
What run did we just do? Mags.
Mags. That's it.
The mountain run that we did in Colorado is an old varsity trip tradition where at the end of every varsity trip we do some challenge run that we think is like basically impossible. There's some workout that's like the culminating thing in terms of us trying to bond together.
Just woke up really early, probably like 5 in the morning. Just threw on our shorts and shoes, got in a couple bands, and he didn't tell us what was going on. So we all knew something was big, something big was coming, but no one was quite sure yet.
I was tired, a little bit crabby, but you know, it's always fun to do something really crazy with your best friends and your teammates. So I didn't know exactly where we were going or what we were gonna do, but I know Quick and I know what he's capable of.
We get out there and it's the same hill that we were doing repeats on earlier in the week, and we were just like, we got murdered by that hill. So he took us there and he said, oh, we're gonna run up the whole thing now. And we were just like, oh, shit.
I was definitely nervous. Just the unexpected, like you didn't know what was gonna happen, so, but it's all about mental toughness. He said you gotta be ready for the unexpected, and whatever he's gonna throw at us, we had to be able to overcome it and just get at it.
It was just a powerful moment with your teammates to do something that intense. And I remember running with, because I got sick on the beginning of the run, I wasn't feeling too good, and I remember running with Brian Smith and some of the guys who were just off of catching our varsity and seeing them go through it, and it meant a lot to me to have them work really hard and along with the top 5 guys.
I remember specifically running with Peter a lot of it, and that's when we really like bonded on the trip. He helped me out a lot.
And usually like bonding for boys, because it's not as easy for them to be intimate with one another or to be really close, usually involves bonding through trauma or struggle. And that was definitely like the point. And so when we got to the top, it felt like, you know, our emotional commitment to one another was something that would not go away from that point on. So the other real big workout that we did in the summer was what ended up being called the Rain Run. And it was a workout where the first Saturday of the season I brought the varsity boys, like the top 15 guys, in at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, just to kind of ram home the idea that like this was a priority.
We were pissed. We were really pissed, and we didn't like show it, or like we didn't tell him, but like after he told us that morning, he's just like, oh, tonight we're gonna do a really hard workout. And we were just like, all right, I guess we'll be here.
A few of us were a little upset about it, but coming down to it, we just came and were ready to work out. We showed up, and it started off with a 4-mile tempo.
Ended up storming, and that was our favorite workout of the summer. We finished on the track. It was flooded. We were running through giant, basically lakes in the track, I would say.
And it was just like incredible. It was like we were running on pillows on the track. Like you couldn't even put your feet on the track because there was that much water coming down that fast. And just to kind of be out there, they wouldn't turn the lights on for us because it's cross country. So we basically have just like some lights from the parking lot, and we're like running in the dark. So like when I'm on the back stretch, all I can see is like people's legs in the front straightaway bleachers, like underneath the main grandstand. You know, and that's the only thing I could see. But I mean, people just out there shouting and killing it. It was a really inspiring run, and that was another one where we had this deal that we were gonna like learn to run 600 meters hard of every effort. So we finished this workout, and everybody's just wiped out. And I was like, no, we're gonna do it. One more thing, we're gonna do it all out 600 with like a big shift at 300 meters to go, because that's the distance from the little zigzag in the Illinois State meet to the finish line. And so that was like a huge emphasis for us. And I remember Peter Tomkevich ran like 1:35, which is like incredible time for him, great finishing time, and you know, everybody just left just completely like believing that we were the best in the state.
We were running faster times that he gave us, and the times he gave us seemed kind of crazy to us at first, but then when we got out there, we were killing it. So we just kept moving, and it was a really powerful moment together as teammates.
And I remember just the rain coming down so hard, and it was almost like a magical kind of feeling.
Yeah, it was definitely one of our favorites. We always look back on that one and just, there was like a big team unity. We were all...
I think we got better.
I remember looking at Mark Hajek on the bus. He's one of our assistants, and I was just like, Hajek, it'd be probably the best thing that could happen to us today is if we lose. And we didn't just lose; we just got beat, and we had some guys like just really fall apart in the heat.
We thought we were all that, like we were already going to win, and then Nico Valley just gave it to us, and that was definitely the biggest wake-up call we've had. Like, kind of brought us back to earth a little bit.
Peter, Marcus.
Yeah, that was not one of my finer moments for the team.
It was a good eye-opener and showed I had to train harder than that to be Palatine fifth man.
It was a wake-up call for us, definitely, and that I think led to our season after that.
The big surprise, I guess, for everybody else was that Peter Tomkevich, who's like, we were hoping at the beginning of the summer would be like our fifth best guy, and then it was real clear by the end of the summer that Peter was probably our best guy, or like at least the co-best guy. And you know, his emergence, he got second to Leland later from New Trier, who later went on to be state champion. So that was a huge revelation because he beat all kinds of people he'd never beaten in his life. We got everybody emotionally back together, and we went down to Peoria Notre Dame on all levels and just gave it to everybody.
Our seniors were happy that they won, but they were so ecstatic that our sophomores had come so far and had beaten York that day that it almost didn't really matter to them that they won Peoria. It was more important to them that the upcoming generations of Palatine cross country were going to be successful.
They came on out and they worked their butts off, and they ended up winning the fresh soft race, which was really inspiring because that was a huge thing for our team because we're up there winning in this huge meet. So it was really inspiring, and after that it just got our whole team like really ready to go.
Graham Brown, our freshman, finished the fresh soft race. He came in third in 15:45. So we were just like shocked. We were just like, no way he just ran 15:45.
Just a fantastic race for him. We were all cheering him on, and we were going crazy because we didn't know he was gonna be running so well.
And then the next race was the varsity race, and we just tore the roof off. We're in the fastest start we'd ever run on the state meet course. And we won by like 60, 80 points, something like that. And it was like, we'd only beaten York one time in school history, and that was the second time. And you know, this was really the first time we'd conclusively beaten them in any race ever. So it didn't worry me as much, but it definitely like gave the guys a lot of confidence. They could feel like this was like kind of their season. And then our JV went, and they didn't score that race, but they would have won as well. So like we were like had a perfect day.
Conference and regional went pretty well. We placed well, won them. We kept our streak alive at conference.
The sectional meet was it was sloppy, to say the least. From the gun to the finish line, everything just went wrong. Everything you could think of went wrong.
So we were on the line, getting ready to go, and it was the first time ever Peter started on my right, and so we were switching it up a little bit. And so the gun goes off, and the first step, he swings his arm back and just elbows me right in the throat. Because he's such a tall guy, his elbows are right at my face. It kind of looked like Peter and Marcus were they panicked a little bit, not knowing where I went. So they looked back, and I was right behind them, and I was yelling at them to get out, but because I got stuck behind them, and we just did not get out as a team. So we got stuck, and at Bussey Woods, if you don't get out, it's going to be a long race for you because it just closes really fast on you.
About 1,000 meters in, I tripped and fell. I like had to do a dive roll out of this mess of like people.
Then in the third mile, I don't know, I guess Tim's race kind of fell apart and Z wasn't having the greatest day either.
Our old rivals from Prospect almost beat us in the sectional, and like that was incredibly important to me and to us, because like that's a great program, and they just wanted to win, and they had more desire than us, and it was a real close race.
It wasn't one of our strongest races, and we were pretty disappointed after that, not knowing what we had in store for us next week, because if we ran like that again, it was going to be game over.
One of the things I've always done for the boys is I always write them letters on big meet days, and I always like handwrite these letters that tell them like what their assignments are, that I'm proud of them, or just some like basic message that I have for them. And so I decided that I was gonna get them all together in a room, the 7 guys that are running, and just say these messages like out to them instead of writing them. The part I probably remember the most is just looking at Tim Monkey in that meeting and just thanking him for the memory of like watching him win us the state meet before it ever happened. I mean, I wasn't quite confident yet, even at that point, that he was actually going to do his job. But I wanted him to know that I believed, and like that I thought he could do it.
I remember looking over at Tony, and he was crying, and Quick was crying, and a couple other people were too. So I teared up a little, and I don't usually cry, so it was a pretty emotional meeting, and it got us fired up.
When Quick was talking to me, he was just saying like I had one of the greatest leaps of improvement over a 1-year span. Like I went from not running in state the year previous, and like now I was gonna be a potential all-state runner, number 1-2 guy on the team, and like just the amount of commitment that I dedicated to the team. Like now is the time to show that it's gonna pay all off. And
like he got to me, he said, "I don't know why you're still doing this." He told me I could have quit, like because of my Osgood slaughter and all my injuries and adversity that I've gone through the years. Just remember with the tears in his eyes, he said, "I don't know why you're still doing this. Anyone else would have quit." After the state meet, we were hugging, and I told him, "This is why I didn't quit right here," when we found out we won. So it's pretty special. Just like every guy, knowing that what they brought to the table and how we all couldn't have done it without each other is just incredible.
In the hotel, his big emotional speech, just like, "Man, I sent every guy in here who's not running a day after your spot, and you still got it done. You're here, and like, you earned it. Like, let's go. It's your time."
I remember telling Tony Gregorio, because Tony Gregorio had this heart problem. We didn't know if he was gonna be able to run. Like the 2 weeks before that, we thought he might, like his season might be over, you know. And I just told him I never really believed that God would take away our heart, you know. And I was like, couldn't even talk when I said that, because I'd been such a traumatic 2 weeks with somebody I really cared about, you know, and like his well-being, and you know, was like determined that like even if we had to like have him not run, that he had to be okay. So that was really hard.
Him saying those words to me meant a lot to me, and it felt really good to have him be proud of me.
And you know, I think I told Marcus Garcia that he'd probably be a pot-smoking bass player in some really good local band if he wouldn't have decided to run, because he's a bit of a wild man, but you know, he made all the difference when he decided to run. So.
And I was just sitting there, I'm just like, what the f***? I didn't know what to say. that was my reaction.
This follows actually on the night before. We do something different where we get together and we share all our memories of the season, and there were some incredibly funny stories in this memory session that we do the night before, and most of which can't be said, right, Monkey?
Should not be on this video. It's too inappropriate.
But they were apparently inflicted on Zambrano during road runs, so you have to ask him yourself.
We came and checked in. You usually have to do that pretty early, so you have a little bit of time in there that you don't really know what to do. It's kind of an awkward period of time. It's a little bit too long to just do strides and pre-race stuff. So what we started doing is we'd go on a little jog together around the field, and I remember us running down to the end, and we would just kind of like point out people and kind of just chuckle about it. People watch, and then we got to the end, we all had to go to the bathroom, so we were all just like, we got yelled at because we all went in the bushes, and our top 7 and our coach were all just peeing in the bushes, like right on the course. And so this person started yelling at us like, "Where's your coach?" And then Quick's like, "I don't know."
They thought I was one of the athletes, so everybody's laughing at me.
I don't know if I took part in that. But the most stressful part was getting the shoe things on, getting the shoe chips. It was a little stressful.
Okay, we were on the line, and it's like one of the most nerve-wracking things you could imagine. Just like those like 30 seconds from when they say set until the gun goes off, because you don't know when it's coming. The guy's behind you. I think we were in box 3, So we had Prospect, and I don't remember what other team was on the inside of us. And then we had the entire rest of the field to our right.
Typically you want to have something more towards the outside so you can just glide out there. So we had to make sure we can get in there and run the tangent and get right to the front, otherwise we're going to get stuck in the pack. So it felt like we went out really, really hard.
Our top 5 is literally like the top, like within the top 15 places again.
Like, dang, this is it. Like, this is what it is. It's what it's come down to.
The first 2 miles was to stick at the back of the lead pack as long as possible through the 2 mile.
Me and Marcus kind of faded off of Peter and Tony a little bit, but we stayed together for most of the race.
So we were just going to run 4 guys right to the front of the state meet and try to hang out as long as possible up there and force more inexperienced guys from like the other teams to come catch us. You know, and we felt if they could do that, then they deserved to win. And if we could hold them off, then we would deserve to win. I got inside the ropes at like just past the 1.5 miles, and I just like got like inches away from everybody's ear and just let them have it. Like, we're winning, we're up big, even though like I wasn't watching O'Fallon, who clearly is a really good team, but I knew we were beating York, I knew we were beating Neuqua, the 2 teams I was watching the most, and I just told them we were up big.
Again, he's just yelling, "We're winning big, we're winning big." So I'm all stoked.
And Marcus gave me this little nod, like, yeah, we are. Like, you know, he had this like little cocky, like, we got this look, which same look he gave me the year before he fell apart. So I wasn't totally convinced.
As the race unfolded, we definitely knew as a coaching staff that the boys were running well. You know, and we knew all year long it was going to come down to our 5th man, Tim Meinke.
Yeah, I actually started off pretty slowly, so I was back in the pack.
Tim Meinke was in the 90s, and I was like freaking out, like that he wasn't where he should be. And then like a mile later at the 2.5, all of a sudden he was up in the 60s, and that was like all she wrote. So I have no idea what that kid did.
My move in the back loop was probably one of my strongest moves during the race.
And I started fading really badly. Tim looked really strong, and I knew he was going to get it done, and he ended up passing like an insane amount of people. I don't know what it was. I want to say it was upwards like towards 50 or something people in the last like 1.5 miles.
When we get to that last 600, 300 to go, we had to have that fire in our eyes.
I had to come through for my teammates.
I definitely had a better finish that day going up that hill, like not wanting to quit on my team and knowing that if I didn't do what I was supposed to do that day, like it could have sacrificed our chances to win state, and I didn't want to let any of my teammates down.
Like I said, I've never kicked so hard before in my life. My legs were just on fire. I couldn't feel anything really except for like my legs, like my quads, they were just burning. And then about like 50, 75 meters out, I see Kyle Mattis from York, and I just say, well, first of all, I'm gonna beat you, and then from then we'll see if I catch Tim from there.
One of the moments that I still remember is watching Marcus and Tim Johnson finish together literally on the same second. I was standing right next to my wife at that moment.
And we finished in the same second, almost the same place, which was really cool.
It was just like one of the greatest feelings all season, because for every race we had just been working on trying to finish together.
But I mean, it doesn't really matter who finished first, or if he had finished before me, that would have been fine. Because I mean, we won, and that's all that matters.
The only finish that I actually saw was Tim Meinke's finish, and I'd worked for like a year with Tim to try to get him to finish cross-country races, and we tried every tactic available, and we like built this race like bit by bit. And so when he hit the zigzag and he was charging, he was like blowing people up, and he didn't pass like 20 people. He probably passed 5-6 people in the last 300 meters, but we only won by 6. And I saw that finish. I ran stride for stride, like right behind the crowd, just like pumping my fists in the air, like just telling them to take it to the house, and just basically screaming into the void because it's so loud there anyway. And I ran straight up with him, and I took him all the way to the line. I just like stopped when I saw him cross the line. Like, I didn't know that O'Fallon was that close, but I knew we'd beaten Neuqua and York, so I thought we'd want to just throw my hands in the air, and I got mobbed by all these like Frosh Soft guys.
I did not know he was there. I knew he was there, like, I knew he was there somewhere cheering for us, but I didn't know quite where he was. But that's awesome, he ran the whole last 800 with me. That was one of the few races that I actually closed strongly, so that felt really good. And I ended up beating an O'Fallon guy just by like a second or two, so it was key that I did close hard.
Again, like this, just as like the year before, we ran our best race when it mattered the most, and I knew we'd run our best race, and that we just believed that if we ran our best race, we were going to win. And you know, so later it turned out to be a lot closer than I thought. But I thought, like, I just intuitively knew it. Like we had won, and so I'm like run up there trying to find the boys, and actually like my dad comes running full speed out of the coach's box and like runs into me like in this little piece of synergy, and something my dad and I've been doing for a lot of years together. So I mean, it's kind of silly to spend so much time talking about sports or like why it matters, but like in our family, it's just something we've always done together. So that's why it's so meaningful. And he had our scores like written on his palm, and so it was great. I stood there and cried and hugged my dad, my brother, and everybody. So
I'd given my phone to one of the younger guys on the team, and he stood at the finish line, and he shot it on an iPhone. We went back and we were watching.
All of a sudden I saw the O'Fallon guys in there, and then we kind of toned it down because we knew it was going to be really close. Their best guy had run the race of his life and gotten second, and we just knew it was going to be within a handful of points, so we toned it down.
And then quick, and I saw Mike Newman from Dystat, and he walked over and he said, Chris, I need to talk to you. I need to interview the state champion coach.
I'm like, bullshit. Like, you guys show me the results. I need to see it on paper. And he had the paper in his backpack. He pulls it out and it says Palatine 114, O'Fallon 120, and I've been waiting my whole life to see that. And so I was sitting there with Coach Sheehan, and I just like gave him a 5, and we took off. I was carrying a water bottle, and I was carrying my results ticket actually. So I never actually got results of the course because I ran over to the boys, and I'm like, it was only by 6 points, but it is our time. And I like threw all this stuff up in the air, and like everybody just started celebrating right in the middle of the road.
Our camp just like go up and just like, ah! And I was like, well, I guess we won.
I cried. It took a while to set in, but I had the race of my life there, and to find out that we've won, it was just really, that was like when all the emotions came out for all of us.
That feeling, like, there's nothing like that feeling, and you can't recreate that, and nobody knows what that feels like unless they've accomplished it themselves.
And I was just so excited, and I just went crazy, just like everyone else. There was so much crying, so much smiling, so much happiness.
And so we all just started hugging each other. Probably for at least like 5 minutes, we just straight hugged everyone. And you know, that was probably one of the happiest moments of my life. Like just all
knowing
together.
that I did with my teammates that I've known for 4 years, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way than to end like that.
If you just kind of put your back into it, you know, and you do it with other people and you do it with the right intent, incredible things can happen. So that's the greatest thing I guess I learned out of all of it. So, done. Now I have to take my deck off.